Joining us is David Seaman, investigative journalist and author. You can follow him on YouTube at David Seaman Online. And he's here with us because he's one of the really balanced reporters out there who isn't just hyping it from our research, but actually covering it, cryptocurrencies. And look, mainstream stuff is all fiat. This is crypto, and it has privacy. That's the real value, and the code, how it works. I'm not a mathematician like some of these folks, but again, you can follow him on YouTube at David Seaman, 160,000 subscribers just on YouTube there. The cryptocurrency market is now worth more than J.P. Morgan, CNBC. Bitcoin market value is now larger than Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan. RBC, the cryptocurrency market could be maybe worth $10 trillion. And it goes on. Litecoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin price surge leads alternatives to gain huge amounts of value. Litecoin, we're going to get into all these with him because here's the thing. If I study something, I can kind of figure it out. But then if I start wanting to invest in something, I get obsessed with it. That's why I don't watch sports, why I don't invest, because I want to just invest in news and know what's going on there. So that's never invested in cryptocurrency, even though I believe in the overall system in it, because I don't want to give listeners bad advice. So then I kind of stay a neophyte. But that's why I have experts on like David Seaman. So David, I've got a lot of questions here, but you're the expert. You should out of the gates tell us what's most important. It's just that I don't want to tell people to get involved in something that's a giant bubble, but good Lord, Bitcoin's going on 6 years. I had guests on that told people get into it. I've had so many people thank me because they've invested $1,000 and, made $5 million. And then I just think, good Lord, one time, 4 years ago, Max Kaiser was trying to give me $1,000 worth at some hotel in London. I was too busy to go to my hotel room and get my laptop because I just didn't want to get involved because I didn't want to mess with it because I don't know how to explain it. It's like if I don't know something, then I don't ever get involved. So here's the thing. I'm trying to get involved. I want to know because now it's so big that I feel like an idiot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. Never turn down free coins from Max Kaiser, but nobody wants to jump to a new system. Nobody wants to learn a new thing. It took me a couple of interviews of interviewing different people in Bitcoin to actually come around to the conclusion that this thing is probably sound. Do I read computer code? I really don't for the most part, but thousands of people around the world from totally different backgrounds, right? Big government crazies, libertarians, anarchists, people who support WikiLeaks, big bankers, everybody in between, Russians, Chinese, American people. Keep in mind, Bitcoin is global. This phenomenon of people mining for crypto is happening all over the world. And so these thousands of people in different countries with different backgrounds, they've all reviewed the computer code. It's 100% open source in the case of Bitcoin and Litecoin and Ethereum. These are open source technologies. So if you have a disagreement with how something runs, just show us the line of code, right? So it definitely took me a lot of research to jump into it. I didn't want to stake my name to something that would go down in flames. And for a couple of years, the crypto markets really did nothing. And a lot of people burnt out financially during that period of time. Crypto did nothing, but below the surface, a lot was being built. And now we're starting to see the beginnings of what was built, so.
Exactly. And again, I just wanted to really understand it before I got into it or promoted it. But now, what about the concern that it's been leaked out by powerful global groups that know the old currencies are going to die and that they want to get us all in this global digital system that we think is personal and private, but really is part of a larger global management system that is going to be brought in via booms and crashes globally to consolidate control over cryptocurrency?
Sure. Well, we all know that the elites have been trying to collapse the global economy for some time. First, make us reliant on their fiat currencies, the Rothschild banks, dead people's faces on rectangles of paper. What most people don't realize in America and in Europe, when you go to the mall, when you spend some money, you're using foreign banker currency, right? I don't want to get too esoteric here, but
we're already using we're using their phony digital system.
Exactly. Yeah, you're using a system where they is in the house of Rothschild and the Rockefellers and Soros and other ruling families have literally trillions of these things, trillions of these digital tokens called dollars. And Bitcoin is a shot across the bow. no doubt about it. And what I tell people now, people who have those concerns, what if this is some system, they're trying to crowd us into it like sheep, right? Trying to throw us off the cliff. I say, if this is a cliff, it's a good cliff, right? If this is the cliff they're trying to cast us off of because it's open source and because anybody can mine for it, look at things by their fruit, right? That's what the Bible tells us to do. Look at things by their fruit. I forget the exact quote, but if this thing were created
it's judge a tree by its fruits. That's what you said.
Yeah, exactly. That's the quote. If this thing were created by Lucifer himself, and I have no evidence to suggest it was, I think it was just the cryptography community realized that there's a bigger issue than privacy, and that issue is currency. And they worked on this problem quietly for years and finally figured it out.
I remember Max Kaiser on here like 4.5, 5 years ago saying this will challenge JP Morgan. He goes, I tried to use silver to crash him, but Bitcoin will do it. And it's now worth just Bitcoin, 370 plus billion more than JP Morgan.
Yeah, no, Max Kaiser is one of the most brilliant people on television when it comes to currency stuff. The way I like to think of it is, if somebody was telling you about Bitcoin years ago, they probably know what they were talking about, right? And you've covered it for years. You've made many of your viewers unintentionally rich, as you pointed out. And so, as I was saying, if Lucifer himself or if some demon race of aliens launched Bitcoin, at least it's a better deal than Chase. At least it's a better deal than Wells Fargo. Whatever this stuff is, 8 years in, thousands of people way smarter than me have reviewed the software that makes it run. It seems to do its job. If there's a problem, I'll be the first to let people know.
So let me ask you, where is it going next? I mean, it's just undoubtedly is the future. Where is it going next? What do you expect to happen?
Bitcoin is one of those self-enhancing prophecies, right? The chicken or the egg problem. If you have a currency and nobody wants to accept it, then it can't grow. And if everybody wants to accept something that nobody uses, then it can't grow. But now, because of how big the market valuation is, some people say it's stupid, some people say it's overvalued, but because of that market valuation, everybody wants a piece. Nobody's turning down Bitcoin now, right? If Max Kaiser were to tell you today, hey, Alex, you still want those Bitcoins I offered you years ago, you'd probably say yes, right?
That was only worth 18 million now. It's worth more now since a week ago, yes.
Yeah, so I think it's a self-enhancing prophecy, and there's no reason to think it can't take out the PayPals and JP Morgans of the world over the long term.
Well, let's get into this with a top cryptocurrency expert, David Seaman. Again, we'll be back with him on the other side, journalist, breaking this down. Then we have Catherine Austin Fitz joining us, one of the top former heads of HUD with the Clintons, big insider, and Roger Stone, who called for the special counsel against Mueller. Well, looks like it's about to happen. He'll be joining us. We are back live here, broadcasting worldwide. I am your host, Alex Jones, and we are joined here by a journalist who's been on before, David Seaman, writes for a lot of big publications, is a very, very popular YouTube channel, and he's somebody that a lot of folks respect as really trying to steer folks towards the right places to go in Bitcoin. The radio network I'm on, GCN, has taken a lot of advertising from Bitcoin groups and other cryptocurrencies, and that's fine. We really haven't done much of it except with a few groups we know, just because, again, I'm a little neurotic about understanding something before I get into it. But now, clearly, the governmental fiat currencies are used to control people. What people agree upon to use as a currency is just the nature of civilization. So if it empowers individuals, as he said 8 years into this, this is looking really, really good. But my problem is then, who are the best websites? And talk about advertising. They're not advertising. They should. I need to find out who the best people are, talking to you and other experts, Max Kaiser, you name it, to see who I should approach to be sponsors, because I want to now start getting into a spectrum of these. I think people should, again, not spend any money that they need to eat or live off of. I think it should be money that you'd be willing to, take your wife or girlfriend or husband out to dinner on, or, maybe a weekend, driving down to the coast or something. I mean, I think this should be discretionary income, but I don't feel like I'm stupid. I mean, I have integrity, so I've waited so long. But I think now I need to really get a crash course and not just kind of sit back and interview people. I need to start experiencing it myself. So, I mean, obviously you're reporting, but where do you go? What do you think are some of the best currencies? How do you store it? We hear about people that store it on their own computer, that's hooked to the internet, or some of the exchanges. People break in and steal it. Of course, that can happen with any wealth. You know, why have kids? They can get hurt. Or, you know, why own a car? Somebody can key it. I mean, it's a normal thing with assets. I'm not knocking it, but those are some of my questions.
Yeah, sure. So you bring up a great point, which is it is still very risky. We're 8 years in. This is open source software. It's not backed by any government. It's not insured by any government at this point. So it's do it yourself and it's use at your own risk. But as you can see, for those of you who are watching on Alex's TV show and YouTube, sorry, I didn't mean to bring up some random currency. I'm not even invested in that one. But yeah, I'm up on coincap.io. And as you can see, the crypto markets are red hot. So a good place to just get your feet wet and see what are these things valued at right now. That would be coincap.io, or another really popular one would be coinmarketcap.com. And so that's where you can begin to see which currencies are competing against each other. You can start to do your homework over there.
And how many thousands of percentage points is Bitcoin up since it first launched? I mean, you know, Vegas is 60% against you. Even if you see this as gambling, this has paid off in thousands of percentage points.
Yeah, so since Bitcoin was launched to the world about 8 years ago as open source software, it came out January 2009. He released his white paper explaining how it works. That white paper is still online. Anybody in the world can read it at bitcoin.org/bitcoin.pdf. That's the original free document that tells you what on earth is this thing and how does it create digital cash. And so since that point in time, Bitcoin is up more than 50,000%. Yeah, that's the white paper right there. It's up more than 50,000%.
And again, tell folks a little bit about 50,000%. Tell people about the developer, the Japanese developer.
Yeah, so we don't know much about Satoshi Nakamoto. That's the pseudonym of the creator or the team of creators who released Bitcoin to the world. And then to answer questions from the community. I was about to say, I can never get answers even from people like Kaiser that have met these folks who really did it. That's one thing I don't like. I'd kind of like to know who really created it. Yeah, if that's a sticking point for you, there are other currencies like Litecoin where they know very well who the creator is and where he's doing media interviews.
Why wouldn't somebody want their name to be known? Maybe in case it went south or in case they got targeted for doing it?
Yeah, I think it's actually a strong feature of Bitcoin that we don't know who the creator is, because if some overzealous government agency says, oh, look, you're not complying with rule A, B, and C, we need to indict you and bring you in, that would obviously crash the currency's value, at least in the short term, even if
sure,
it's not
don't they say in that manifesto and others that they're doing this to empower people?
Essentially, Satoshi made hints on the blockchain. He references an article about the financial crisis. And that was one of the first, things written into the blockchain is a newspaper article about the financial crisis where Americans are getting hosed. So there is an ideological element to this. I mean, we all know what we're doing. We're psychologically replacing the dollar with this crazy thing called a Bitcoin. And so far, so good. But again, it is still very risky technology. Nobody's underwriting this. Nobody's guaranteeing it. It's what really it comes down to, I think, Alex, is whenever peer-to-peer pops up in any area of life, P2P, they try to stomp it down as hard and as fast as they want
middlemen in control. This is cutting middlemen out.
Yeah, they try to make us never try it again, right? So the printing press they didn't like because you no longer have to go to church and tithe 10% of your income to have somebody in the church tell you what the Bible says. You can print up your own Bible. You can give them to friends and family members, and you can start to interpret God's word for yourself. Back then, that was highly disruptive.
And that's what we're doing in the independent new media is saying, hey, we're having everybody on. We're having a bigger discussion. People say, I want my own discussion. And that's what's killing that monopoly.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't like people going off and doing their own thing. And there's nothing more peer-to-peer than Bitcoin. There are people in their basements mining for Bitcoins and Ethers and Litecoins right now. They can't control that. And of course, tomorrow, we could all stop craving Bitcoin and then it could collapse. But tomorrow, we could also crave Bitcoin even more. I mean, now it's a massive network. So
I was about to say, how many cryptocurrencies are there? Because they're saying, I mean, it's already approaching what percentage of global currency?
Yeah, so as of yesterday or the day before, all of the crypto in the world had reached more than $500 billion in value, so more than half a trillion. Now it's a little bit under a trillion because it's moved back a bit, but roughly $500 billion of market value in crypto at this point. It's incredible.
So if I would have invested $10,000 in Bitcoin 8 years ago, what's 50,000 times 1,000?
I mean, you would have a lot of money today. And one of the concerns about Bitcoin is, who is Satoshi Nakamoto, right? What are this man's intentions or this team's intentions? Because he stopped communicating with the public in 2010. He was responding to people in the Bitcoin forums, developers and miners and stuff, drops off the face of the earth sometime in 2010. And it's been run by volunteers ever since, pretty much, by volunteers and by companies who work with Bitcoin. But this man, maybe he still holds some of his coins, and it makes you wonder if he becomes the next, super banker by virtue of how many coins he has. Is he a good person or is he a bad person? At least, again, it goes back to that biblical quote. He's made a lot of people rich. He's made Jamie Dimon sweat. So judging him by the fruit of his tree,
he's good.
That's one nice tree so far. That's one real nice tree. So,
wow. It's amazing. Well, I want to get you back on the broadcast soon, my friend. Any other important tidbits we should get into to understand cryptocurrency?
Yeah, just a couple of closing things. People always ask where to buy it. At least if you're in the U.S., one of the best places is Coinbase, coinbase.com. Let's see if I can bring it up there.
And where do you keep it? Just on a thumb drive? I mean, don't plug it into the internet.
So coinbase.com, they're a good place. So you can do something called offline storage or cold wallets. Do a search for Bitcoin cold wallet, Bitcoin offline.
So have it in a hard drive and put it in a Faraday cage.
Essentially, yes. Essentially, you can have a laptop that you never connect to the internet. You use a thumb drive to install your favorite Bitcoin wallet. You generate a Bitcoin address or an Ether address if you're using Ethereum. You send money to that address, but you never connect that computer to the internet. And therefore, you don't have to sweat at night about hackers getting your Bitcoin, because from a physics perspective, we know it's impossible to hack a computer that never connects to the internet. You can disconnect your network.
Hold on, stay right there. We got to come back in 2 minutes. I want to do 5 more minutes with you if you can to get more into this. I've got a few other questions, and I know some of the crew wanted to pop in and ask a few questions as well, and I forgot to go to them. We'll be back in 70 seconds after this break. Please support us. We don't have the Bitcoin. We don't have the George Soros funding either. We're just funded by you. The radio networks and stations are funded by local sponsors. We're pretty much funded by you buying products, T-shirts, books, videos. We've got All Lives Matter shirts that are exclusive at InfoWarsStore.com, and we've got White Lives or Matter, Black Lives Matter shirts, all the same names together. We have It's Okay to be White, Okay to be Black, Okay to be Brown, Okay to be Red, Great to be Human. Very powerful shirts. They're limited edition. InfoWarsStore.com. And the new product that I know is going to be our best seller, Cellforce. It's so incredible. 50% off out of the gates and store-wide free shipping. So many other specials, but a lot of them are having to end because we're selling out. Get your brain force as well. It's about to sell out. Thank you all for the support, but do your Christmas shopping. Don't fight the crowds. Don't fight the traffic. InfoWarsStore.com. Get great products, get your shopping done, and help defeat the globalist. By the way, just like I first called, not bragging, just letting folks know I figured out their program, their blueprint, their operations manual. I was the first to say hours after last week that, well, a bunch of stuff, but I was pointing out that they were running a bunch of scams where they would come out and make an announcement and then it wasn't true. They would say that Flynn has, admitted that he, during the campaign, worked with the Russians and that Trump ordered him to. It wasn't true. And they put the hoax out and they go, oh, you're suspended 4 weeks. They did that desperately to see how it would be accepted. It wasn't. Just to see if it would sail. And people wouldn't go look up the dates that were already there and find out it was when he was president-elect and totally normal. Well, I saw Anderson Cooper last night call Trump a pathetic loser and all this stuff. And then when it had a backlash, he deleted it saying, oh, someone hacked me. So that's how these cowards do it. But I got to give it to Mika Brzezinski with her filthy activity. She just does it right out in front of God and country. That's coming up in the next segment. Catherine Austin Fitz joining us. Roger Stone with big exclusive news. He's the guy that first called for the special counsel to investigate Mueller and the whole thing, and it looks like that's what's going to happen. So I just can't believe how dialed in Roger is. Not to getting orders from somebody. He develops so many of these strategies, and that's why they call him dirty and evil, because he's not. And then he just kind of arrogantly goes with it. Well, you're bet I'm the villain, and it's not even true. So, again, joining us is David Seaman, again, investigative journalist and researcher, a popular YouTube channel with 130-something thousand subscribers at David Seaman Online. We got about 3 minutes to break. Thanks for joining us. Other important tidbits you got cut off by the break. You want to impart to folks about the cryptocurrency revolution. I mean, it really is like printing press level, internet invention level. I mean, clearly 8 years in, this is something that we can't ignore.
Yeah, we at Fulcrum News, which is my startup news company, we think it's a big deal. We put up an article and a couple of videos. Bitcoin and Ethereum have elites in a global panic. So that's the level of disruption that's ahead potentially.
And that's important to interrupt. Give us your website again.
Fulcrumnews.com.
It's a great name. I love Fulcrum. Yeah, go ahead.
They tried to attack Napster, and then later technologies like BitTorrent were so good they just couldn't shut it down. And here Bitcoin might be the same way. Certainly everybody has tried to attack it. The media, Reuters and the AP, which are controlled in part by the Rothschild family who invest in them. Whenever there's a pullback in Bitcoin, they always focus on that. And they don't focus on the fact that overall, the thing is up more than 50,000%. Some of its biggest competitors.
Well, sure, and look how the Rothschilds own the main carbon exchange as well, and the Economist magazine, NM Rothschild, you name it. I mean, they want a global carbon tax to be the new fiat currency. They really don't like cryptocurrency.
Yeah, they are a money cartel, and they have overinvested in media to keep us craving their dollar bills, which they essentially loan out to our own country. It's very bizarre, doesn't make sense in a modern internet age, and that's why crypto is coming of age, is that our financial system is the last thing we're doing that is kind of a throwback to the Middle Ages. We elected a president on the basis of videos and social media posts, so why doesn't our money catch up? Now it is. But again, for people out there, final point to remember, please store your own coins. Once you learn enough about Bitcoin or about Litecoin or even Ethereum, take the extra step to learn about cold storage, store it yourself, because even though Coinbase is a good business, in my opinion, part of the ethos of crypto is you hold your own money. You don't trust Coinbase to remain good people and to not be compromised.
One of the crew wants to pop in just real quick and ask you a question. Go ahead.
Hey, David, longtime investor here. I've been curious about whether or not it'd be worth it to hold on to cryptocurrency or sell it off for cash, because the whole point of this is it's supposed to take place of U.S. dollars someday. What would your advice on that?
Yeah, I can't give financial advice in terms of whether or not cashing out now would be ideal. I can't tell you if it's going to go up in the future.